श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम श्री आदिनाथाय नमोस्तु तस्मै येनोपदिष्टा हठयोग विद्या विप्राजते प्रोन्नतराजयोगम् आरोढुमिच्छोरतिरोहिणीव. Namaste, dear friends. In our journey in exploring the various scriptures, the authentic scriptures of the yoga tradition, after seeing about the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, we have come to see about one of the most important texts, especially of the practical relevance of yoga, is Hatha Yoga Pratipika. Hatha Yoga, unlike very commonly today understood, especially the Western world, is not the forceful yoga. People think Hatha means the force, right? That is Hatha. Whereas here Hatha Yoga is the balance between the right and left nostril, the Surya Nadi and the Chandra Nadi. The right nostril, which is called the Pingala, the left nostril, which is called the Ida. The right nostril also is called the Surya Nadi. Left nostril is also called as Chandra Nadi. In fact, it is not just the nostril here what we externally see. The nadis are subtle energy channels to carry the vital life force energy in the Sukshma Sharira. It is not just this right nostril, left nostril what we see here. It is the subtle energy channel of the nadis which we see in the Sukshma Sharira, the subtle body. That's where we have the right side path of the Surya Nadi and the left side part of the Chandra Nadi. And in between both of them we have the Sushumna Nadi, the central Nadi, which is corresponding to the spinal column in the physical gross body, in the Sthula Sharira. And this is the channel, the Sushumna Nadi is the channel for the Kundalini energy to be aroused, awakened from the Mooladhara, the basal chakra, the energy generator of the Mooladhara, the basal, which is there at the bottom of the spine, corresponding to the bottom of the spine, and taking it up to the Sahasrara, which is there on the top of the skull, which is a 1,000-petal lotus which is blossoming. The Kundalini, as I've been repeatedly telling, is been represented, been understood in corresponding to a coiled serpent. Kundalini means that which is coiled. So there it is dormant. It is the potential energy. In science, in physics, what we call it as a potential energy. And when the energy is aroused and the energy is in motion, that becomes the kinetic energy in physics. Similarly here, the Kundalini energy, the Kundalini Shakti, when it is there in the Mooladhara, that is the potential energy. When it's aroused, awakened and taken through the energy generators of the next chakras, which are the Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddhi, Agnya, and reaches Sahasrara, it becomes a kinetic energy. And this is all about the main subject matter of Hatha Yoga tradition, the Hatha Yoga Parampara. So, for balancing between the Surya Nadi and Chandra Nadi and bringing the pranic energy of Kundalini Shakti in the Sushumna Nadi and arousing it, the Shakti to reach Shiva. In Sahasrara, when Shakti reaches Shiva, it is Shiva Shakti Yukta. It is the again individualized consciousness, individualized self reaching the universal consciousness of yoga. The Aikyata of the Jivatma Paramatma is represented by the Aikyata of the Shakti with the Shiva, the Kundalini with the Paramatman in the Sahasrara is what is the main subject matter of Hatha Yoga. And Hatha Yoga is not considered to be an independent aspect of yoga or independent stream of yoga, as very important scripture of Hatha Yoga, the Hatha Yoga Pratipika itself remarks at the beginning itself. Right now what shloka I chanted is indicating this. It says, this becomes a staircase. It becomes a sopana, a staircase for people who want to achieve the Unnata Raja Yogam. Raja Yoga is Unnata, it is the ultimate. And people who want to achieve this higher states of Raja Yoga can use Hatha Yoga as the steps to elevate themselves high in this path of Hatha Yoga and reach ultimately Raja Yoga. So we should not separate Hatha Yoga from Raja Yoga. Raja Yoga, which has the Ashtanga Yoga, is not complete without the Hatha Yoga, because in the Ashtanga Yoga, in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, we have seen Patanjali mentioning about the principles of doing the asanas, principle of doing the pranayama or the dharana dhyana, but he has not given the technical aspect. So always philosophy and practice should go hand in hand, right? So Vairagya and Abhyasa should go hand in hand. So Patanjali tells these principles of practice, but the practical techniques are given in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. So they go hand in hand. So tons of theory without an ounce of practice, is not fruitful. So they say an ounce of practice is better than tons of theory. So Hatha Yoga gives you the practical aspects of yoga, and especially we see scriptures documented for Hatha Yoga only from the 14th, 15th century. Doesn't mean it was not in practice. It was more in the Guru Sishya Parampara, more practice. In fact, as the Hatha Yoga scripture itself says, Hatha Yoga Pratipika itself says, Hatha Vidya Param Gopya Yogina Siddhim Ichchata. So, aspiring for the siddhis of Hatha Yoga, they have kept it secret, Gopyam. It is not publicly practiced for everybody. It is not a common man's practice. It is only for those aspirants, Manushyanam Sahasreshu, who want to become liberated, who want to become a yogi. For him alone this practice was kept. So it was few in number. So the Guru Sishya Parampara, it was kept in a secret way that they practiced. But later, when the yogis thought that it should be documented, so I think one of the first scripture to be documented is Hatha Yoga Pradipika, and later we see Hatha Ratnavali by Srinivasa Muni. Later the yogi called Gheranda has documented as Gheranda Samhita. We have Shiva Samhita and various other scriptures. We have the Goraksha Samhita also. All these are the scriptures for Hatha Yoga Parampara. Which are the most important scriptures? Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Hatha Ratnavali, Gheranda Samhita, and Shiva Samhita, and Goraksha Samhita. These are all the wonderful scriptures for the Hatha Yoga Vidya. And the Hatha Yoga Vidya is propounded first and foremost by Lord Shiva as Adinatha. When we saw the origin and history of yoga itself, I had mentioned about it, that Shiva as the Adinatha, the first Natha. Natha here is Guru Natha, the teacher. Natha means the Swami, the master. One has mastered over one's own self, not just the scriptures, not just the path of yoga, but one who has attained the mastery over one's own self is called the Natha. And Adi means the first. So Adi Natha is Shiva in the parampara of the Hatha Yoga parampara, and followed by him Maschendra Natha, Goraksha Natha, and the big parampara, the Hatha Yoga Pratipika, gives you the list of all these Mahatmas, the great yogis, who are all the Natha parampara. And Swatmarama Natha, Swatmarama Muni also is one of the preceptors in this parampara, who documented one of the most important scripture for Hatha Yoga as a Hatha Yoga Pratipika. Pratipika is a light. That's why probably B.K. Iyengar gave the name the light on yoga based on this Pratipika. There's a wonderful commentary always. What happens? You can't understand the shlokas as such. So you need a commentary from the practical perspectives, practical aspects, from a person who is an adept in this, who is an expert in this. That's where Jyotsna, a commentary for Hatha Yoga Pratipika, is called Jyotsna. Jyotsna is a moon's light, which is given by Brahmananda yogi, who has given this Jyotsna commentary for Hatha Yoga Pratipika. So based on this, one has to understand the scripture of Hatha Yoga Pratipika in detail. So Hatha Yoga Pratipika, the very first shloka itself says that Hatha Yoga is a staircase, a preparation for one to travel in heights of Raja Yoga. So Raja Yoga is not complete without the understanding of Hatha Yoga, and Hatha Yoga is incomplete without elevating it to Raja Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga. So today, unfortunately, in yoga studios, people say we teach Hatha Yoga and they don't want to go into Ashtanga Yoga, Raja Yoga. Whereas in this course, in this teacher's training, we are giving you a complete essence of what Raja Yoga is and what Ashtanga Yoga, which is essential part of Hatha Yoga, the Raja Yoga is, and also adding to that the entire understanding of Hatha Yoga as well, both in terms of the philosophy and in terms of the practice is what we are giving. And many people say in Hatha Yoga, it doesn't like importance to the Yama Niyama, nothing like that. In fact, Swatmarama is giving 10 Niyamas as a preparation for progressing in the path of the Hatha Yoga. And so, Yama Niyama is also mentioned, but then the most important aspect is the asana, which is given importance. So, the Pratama Anga, unlike in Ashtanga Yoga, the Tritiya Anga, third Anga is asana. As in Hatha Yoga, Hatasya Pratamangatvat, Asanam Purvamuchati. So the asana is called the Pratama Anga in Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga Pratipika in fact deals with 4 chapters. The first deals with asanas, the second with pranayama, then you have one with the mudras, and then the Nadanusandana, which is meditation with the sound vibrations, which is the fourth, which is kept in detail. So asana, pranayama, mudra, and the Nadanusandana, and as a preparation for pranayama, the kriyas, the Shat kriyas, cleansing techniques about which we will see, is also mentioned here by Swatmarama in the Hatha Yoga Pratipika. And one of the most important thing which every yoga practitioner should know, he gives in a beautiful way how the yogic, the place where the yogi should perform the yoga practice, the sadhana, is also very well defined, very well given there. And also he talks of the diet, the food, the mityahara, which yogic aspirant, the sadhaka should practice, is also given. And how it should be, it should not be too much tamasic. It should be in a very sattvic way. It should have a blend of something susnikta madurahara. It should have sweetness in it, and very easy to digest food, fresh with life energy should be there. All those mitahara, how food should be there, it's also given in the Hatha Yoga Pratipika. And it talks of the sadhaka and the bhadaka tattvas. What promotes one in the path of yoga, and what brings one to be fallen from the path of yoga. If a yogic aspirant, a sadhaka, somebody who does the acharana of the yoga path, how he should be, what are the things he should follow. 6, when he follows, he achieves success, and 6, if he follows, he will fall, he will get downfall. That's the sadhaka tattva and bhadaka tattva, which he very nicely he says that if you see, first is that which makes you to fall. He gives the negative aspects, which is atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha laulyam shadbir yogo vinashyati. What are they? He says that yoga is destroyed by following the 6 factors, which are, first is atyahara, ati ahara, which is overeating. It is not just the food to the stomach. We know ahara means the feeding to all the sense organs. Anything too much you see through your eyes, it is also atyahara. Anything too much you hear from the ears is also atyahara. Too much you indulge with your sense organs, everything, it becomes atyahara. So overeating or atyahara, and prayasascha, overexertion. We do abhyasa in a long-term eternal way, as I have already told in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, but not prayasa. Prayasa is overexertion. Nowadays people want to achieve something immediately. They want to make world records and everything in yoga asanas and everything. So they overexert beyond their capacity, and they put danger to themselves. So yoga should be something which makes you to enjoy it, not put you into trouble. It should not be an overexertion. Somebody wants to achieve, so 100 crunches I do, 100 Surya Namaskaras I do in the same day, and then do this and that and all those things. This is all prayasa, overexertion. So here Swatmarama is against it. And also excessive talk. This is for me particularly. Prajalpa is excessive talk. Don't talk too much. You need to observe maunam. In fact, in Jnana Yoga we saw that Shiva, Dakshinamurti taught to Sanakadi Rishis only through maunam. So you don't have to even speak. So excessive talk, prajalpa, should be avoided. And then niyamagraha, obsession with observances. Discipline is important. Following the yama niyama is important. But sometimes more with ritualistic outward things, people get more obsessive with these things, that repeatedly washing, repeatedly doing, repeatedly following certain rituals. These are also, the niyamagraha is also not too good. And then janasanga, which is the company of people, is required. I told you, in fact, in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, which kind of company that you should have. Maitri, you should have friendship with the kind of good people, the happy people that you should have. But then satsanga is important, but too much of sangha is also to be avoided. So janasanga, especially a Hatha yogi who want to achieve some higher siddhis and powers, you need to give up the sangha and go and be exclusively with the guru alone and learn, do the guru seva, and be ekagrata, more focused than being in the common public. And then laulya, which is unsteadiness. Anything that you take, I thought dirgha kala, stiram is very important. Nowadays people do a few things, few days, and then take photos and put in Instagram and then upload in their Facebook, and that is done. It should not be there. Steady, regular practice. It's not just for others to get impressed that you are doing. You are achieving higher siddhis, higher powers through which you can attain that ultimate yoga siddhi, which is important, for which you are doing. So we should not have this unsteadiness, laulyam. All these are the bhadaka tattvas through which yoga is destroyed. What are they? Again I repeat, atyahara, which is the overeating, and then prayasa, which is overexertion, prajalpa, excessive talk, and niyamagraha, obsession with the observances, and then janasanga, which is having too much of company of the people, and laulyam, unsteadiness. These are the bhadaka tattvas. What are sadhaka tattvas? That which promotes you in the path of yoga. Again, in the next shloka in the first chapter, Swatmarama says them. It is utsaha sahasa dhairyat tattvajnanascha nishchayat janasanga parityagat shadbir yogo prasidyati. So he says that which makes you to attain success. These are the 6 which are there, which is utsaha, which is a motivation, a zeal to achieve success. That should be there. Utsahat balavan aryaha, not utsahat param balam, which Lakshmana says in the Ramayana. Our Prime Minister also very repeatedly keeps quoting this saying from the Ramayana, utsahat sahasat dairya. Utsaham we should have always, which is the zeal to attain something, sahasa, which is the daring nature, that I shall attain this, I shall do this, I shall not set back. That sahasa, Vivekananda had it always, and he always said it for the youngsters to have this. Hanuman had it, that I shall do. Asadhya sadhaka swami, we say. He's somebody who can do something which is not possible. There is nothing impossible, with Hanuman, that he could cross 100 yojanas from the Mahendra Parvata and reach Lanka, and then, meet Sita and come back. Or he could go up to the Himalayan Parvata flying, and he lifted the mountain itself. Krishna's lifting the mountain is not so great, that he did the Govardhana. His devotee Hanuman lifting the Parvata is something great. That's the power of the yogi. Krishna lifting, Krishna's to Bhagavan Swayam. He is Bhagavan, he is God, he could do it. But Hanuman with his yogic powers is what he has done. That sahasa, daring nature, and dhairya, courage, and knowledge of the real, which is tattvajnana, and conviction, which is nishchaya, buddhi, which is conviction, that this is what I'm going to do. That nishchaya, drida nishchayatva is very much required. And then shunning the company of inappropriate people, janasanga parityaga. He had already told there that janasanga is a wrong factor, so giving up that is a good factor. Janasanga parityaga, shadbir yogo prasidyati. To attain success, siddhi in yoga, these are the things that we should follow. So in Swatmarama very wonderfully gives this sadhaka tattva and bhadaka tattva, that which makes you to feel, that which makes you to attain success in the path of yoga. After understanding this, we need to move to understand the different technical aspects of asana, kriya, pranayama, mudras, and the state of nadhanusandhana in the coming classes that we shall understand. Let us remember the sadhaka tattva, the bhadaka tattva, and try to follow to the extent possible. And also, let us remember that Hatha yoga is not the yoga of force, not the yoga of complete exertion, the force. It is the balance of the Surya and Chandra nadis, and the wonderful blend of the Kundalini Shakti that need to be aroused to the Sushumna Nadi. And Hatha Yoga ultimately is part and parcel of the Raja Yoga. It is preparation for Raja Yoga. Swatmarama himself says this. May we all understand this and do not separate, do not compartmentalize yoga. Let us integrate yoga in a unifying way. Yoga, the very word itself means unifying. And now in the name of practicing yoga, we are separating it. Focus is important. Each one to give themselves, and practicing something important is very required. But same time, the conceptual understanding, let us not separate it. Let us work together, integrate yoga and practice to get better benefits. Namaste.